All right, good to see everybody is good today. And the weather. Today's a beautiful day again. What do you think, T?
I think it's a great day.
Beautiful day. All right, we're good. Good to see everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Showers and thunderstorms, afternoon high 85. Sunday night showers, possibly thunderstorms for 8 p.m. and showers and thunderstorms after 8 p.m. close to 6. DJ's Roofing. When it comes to your roof construction covers, visit DJ'sRoofing.com. I'm Jim Price.
All right, everybody. Here we go.
A conversation about the regional real estate market.
Cranked it up in here. All right.
Your host, Max Results, Sarah Avery, and Presidential Bank Mortgages.
Hey, folks, welcome back to your Frederick Real Estate Update. I am Darren Ahern with Remax Results, bringing you over 21 years experience in the Maryland region. Also have with me Terry from Presidential Bank. How are you?
Great. How are you doing?
Very good, very good. And also we have our special guest today, as always, the one and only Mr. Kenny McClain. How are you?
Nice to see you guys again, gentlemen.
Main appraiser. Good to see you. Good to see you too. So, all right, we're going to jump right into it. Welcome in so much. We want to thank all of our listeners. You can go into WFMD.com in the drop downs and your Frederick Real Estate Update, and you can now catch 370 programs in the past. And now we are also live here on our YouTube video link, and we want you to subscribe, share it, thumbs up, all that good stuff. So let's get right into it. All right, Terry, Mortgage World, what's happened this last week real quick?
Real quick. Big news is everybody was waiting for the CPI and the PPI to come out. And they came out on Wednesday and Thursday. Basically, they came out with a little bit of good news. On the PPI, the Producer Price Index only went up 0.1%. It was expected to go up 0.2%. And that means that inflation year over year dropped from 3% to 2.9%, heading in the right direction. People are happy. You probably saw it in your stocks go up tremendously over the last week. They did drop tremendously over the last week, but we're not going to talk about that. But we saw a full recovery. But what it basically does is it pretty much guarantees that we're going to have a rate cut in September by the Fed. And the big question is whether it's going to be a 0.5% cut or a 0.25% cut. I'm hedging on a 0.5% cut right now, which means that going back to what I've said before, momentum. We just want momentum and rates coming down. They've leveled off right now. Little fear of a recession, but basically they're leveling off, and I think that we're going to see them drop fairly soon, probably closer to 6% range, and I think that'll be a big boost for us. But I'm seeing a lot of people sitting on the sidelines waiting for the rates to come down.
Yep, like you said, why buy today when tomorrow it's on sale? But no one has a crystal ball, but it seems to be that's the trend. That's kind of what's going on. So,
and a big shout out to real quick, my son Joey would kill me if I didn't give him a big shout out. Today's his birthday, and Bridget's birthday was last Monday, so we celebrated 2 birthdays in the Kernan family.
And my brother, today's my brother's birthday.
Oh, really?
So there you go, Sean,
right.
Down in Florida there. Happy birthday to my awesome brother. So everybody's having these big birthdays. My son, his is coming up on the 22nd. Ethan will be 22. So 22 on the 22. So, all right, phone lines are open, 301-694-9363. You are welcome to call in or text. Our producer will get it to us. If you have any questions about the real estate market, especially from Mr. Kenny McClain, our awesome appraiser that is joining us today. So, all right, we're going to get right on into it, folks. Active homes on the market. Kenny, I came up this morning, 406. We've been teetering. We just kind of went above 406, and we have 295. The resales, 111 new construction, and 39 coming soon. But I'm going to let you talk about all kinds of other stuff as we merge into what in the world has happened, where are we at with the market, and what are the future crystal ball predictions and all that good stuff. So, all right, I know some of our listeners that have tuned in here, but for anyone that's been new, does not know who Kenny McClain is, go ahead and tell everybody who you are.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me again, guys. Kenny McClain with Six McClain & Associates. I've been in the industry now for 18 years. mainly in Frederick County. We cover Washington County, parts of Carroll County, Howard County, and Upper Montgomery County as well. 6 years as the owner of Six McClain and Associates.
Awesome.
6 years.
Been 6 years.
Wow.
So
Time flies. Time flies when you're real estate.
Well, yeah, COVID's always like a mulligan. That's a 3-year mulligan. Wow. Okay. Great.
All right, Kenny, what's the number one question you get from all buyers and sellers right now with real estate?
well, when I get to that appraisal appointment, everybody wants to know how much it's worth. Unfortunately, that wouldn't be fair to answer that question right on the spot. We're not a home inspector. We can't tell you the rights and the wrongs of the house immediately. We have to, it would be almost unbiased, or not unbiased, not the correct way to come up with a predetermined value. The inspection's done first, and then the data's collected and the report's written afterwards.
I get it too. I haven't even seen your house yet.
Yeah,
and people ask,
exactly.
before I have you come out, Mr. Realtor, we want to know what our house is worth. I said, I got to know if you have 14 karat gold faucets or if your house hasn't had a new roof on it or HVAC or anything in the last 20 years. There are so many factors that really dictate into this. And someone who's a professional takes the time and the right professional steps to be able to really determine that. But Kenny, one of the answers I give people is I'm not you. I'm not a professional appraiser. I'm not allowed to share that. We give a range of value. That's within the scope of our area of expertise. But at the end of the day, I tell people this. It's only worth what a buyer's willing to pay. It all depends on the buyers in the market right now and the supply, the demand, and all kinds of other factors.
You're right about that, and that's our job to try to interpret that data.
Yep, as best we can. We get as close as we can, but you are the man. You get it pretty much almost right on. So before selling a home, it's smart not to really necessarily to have a pre-home sell appraisal. What do you think? Do you think it's smart to do that or not? Is there a type of a market where we don't need to do a pre-appraisal before we sell the home? What do you think?
I mean, it's case by case. We do a lot of pre-sale appraisals. The homeowner has an idea where the value is. The agent has an idea about where the value is. And, the average cost of an appraisal is about $500 for a single family house. When you're dealing with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, what's a third opinion of value really going to hurt you at that point, especially if you guys are on the fence of where the values are going to be?
All right, let's talk inventory. Big thing here is we've been tracking, as you know, quite a bit, and you're on it as much, if not more than we are. All right, how many homes are for sale, Frederick County, like now versus last year? What type of changes have you seen in the inventory, and what comes to your mind as an appraiser? Are you surprised at all, or?
Well, as of Monday, we had 380, single-family residential homes on the market in Frederick County. Still with 105 of those being new construction, so inventory is still low. This time last year was even lower. We only had 270 total houses on the market at this time last year, with the same amount of new construction ratios.
So how much has that grown? How much have we seen inventory come up then in the last, say, year over year to this point?
Not enough.
yeah, I still get a whole bunch of buyers are like, where are all the houses?
Wait, I didn't bring my HP calculator, but not enough.
What's a balance market? Here's what people really want to know. I get a lot. Buyers are like, number one, why are there not more homes coming out for sale? Like, where's the inventory? It's come up a little bit, Darren. Thank you. I get 2 more per week, if that, in my search. But the big thing people want to know is, like, when's it going to be a buyer's market? When's it going to turn enough? What does that number for Frederick County or area look like to be more balanced in all that?
Well, when we find that out, I'm going to call into your radio show. Hopefully within the next year or two. We're still trying to figure it out. Prior to COVID, we used to call a balanced market 1,000 to 1,100 homes on the market. Mm-hmm. I really think, and I probably said this last year, if we get 600, we're going to be happy. It's going to give us, it's going to give people more options for that resale market. I don't think that a balanced market's ever going to get back to 1,100 anytime soon.
Yeah. So the thing is, obviously a balanced market's predominantly determined based on a lot of factors. My thought would be, what's the buyer demand right now, like in this moment? Because right now I have a house for sale. We had 7-8 showings in 2 days. We have an open house today. And
should have it wrapped up by the weekend.
Yeah, and this is on a higher end home. This is on a $765 sell price. So this isn't like your 500,000 or below. So the amount of demand seems to be, even though it's slowed a little bit, it seems to be still high based on the amount of homes for sale. But if we get to 600, are you telling us that, you may not see multiple offers. We don't know. It's going to be a different ball game at some point.
This whole year has been squirrely, and I think I've heard you use that on the radio in the past couple weeks. Days on market for houses that are going under contract are still 20 days or less. That's the average in Frederick County. I mean, I think when we get to that balanced market, we're looking at, we're not probably going to get to 6 months ever for a long time. But if we get up to, 2 or 3 months days on market, it's going to be a better sign. That'll be more inventory involved and give buyers a better option. And speaking of that over $700,000 and up market, I mean, there's still a lot of inventory above $800,000, $700,000. But the houses that are selling, they're still selling in that average days on market in 30 days or less. Over $1 million still.
Wow. Yeah, you have the whole sheet, the breakdown, which I've done here and there. If you could take a minute and go through what different price points and breaks where we see the averages and then somewhere where it changes quite a bit.
Well, I mean, obviously our average sales price is in the 500s right now. So, those areas from 300 to 400 to 500 to 600, that's the most active market.
Okay.
That's your first time townhouse home buyers and people moving from that smaller house to that, that modest single family while they can still afford it because prices, they're still going up.
Terry, what's your thoughts?
What's the condo market doing?
The condo market is it's increasing slightly in some areas.
Okay.
I mean, I've done a few condos recently in Spring Ridge, and we've seen a good increase in that, but a modest increase, not the 12.5% average increase we've seen in the entire market this year, and a 7.6% median in the entire market. The condo market has not gone up that high.
Okay.
And there's different segments of the market that feed into that whole average, and I would say the condo market is more on a leveling off.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with the new restrictions that are being put on the HOAs to have enough reserves to make sure that the building is fit. And there's a lot of question marks when buying a condo. So do your homework when you're buying. But I think that's part of the reason why
some of these HOAs are up to over $500 a month now, and that doesn't include water and sewer.
Ugh. Wow.
It's the cost of ownership.
I mean, how does that affect values going up in, say, like for condos, family home that doesn't have all that?
I mean, I think a typical informed purchase, $500 a month. What could you buy for that extra month in a mortgage?
Yeah, it's about $70,000.
That's what I rely on you guys to do that. But I mean, you could buy $70,000 worth more of a home and possibly just step right into that single family price range at that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alrighty. As far as inventory, do you have, what about, let's talk about land for a second there. What are you seeing with land? Because I've had more calls than ever before for people that are really thinking, hey, I want to buy a piece of land. I want to build a custom home on it. What's that cost? How does that all work? What are you seeing with land?
Well, land is, there's only 63 lots on the market in all of Frederick County right now. Pre-COVID, there was over 300, almost 400 lots for sale.
Really?
Wow.
People are still buying the good lots are they're going off the shelf. There's a couple builders out there that are building spec homes. A lot of, and Terry knows, there's a lot of construction to perms where you'll have his client buy the lot, and then they'll contract the builder on a separate contract to build the home after the lot's settled.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if there's a good lot out there, it's going to sell in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, there's a lot of demand for construction perms being able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And with the cost of building coming down slightly, not rising very rapidly, the land is a hot commodity. I do know that. Very hard to find a good lot.
One of the things, Kenny, that I get asked now also is how much on a resale house, how do you get to how much per square foot? Like, how do you determine how much it's selling per square foot versus a resale versus brand new build? Because we know brand new builds, I mean, we're pushing $200 a square foot, depending on what you put in it. 230, 250 maybe or higher.
300.
300 if you're, So how does that work with resales that you see?
That's a tricky question that I don't get involved in. We talk about this all the time in our office.
Oh, yeah.
We don't like, unlike agents, we don't use the price per square foot as a main
I don't either.
main factor. A lot of them do.
Wow. Okay.
As you know, as square foot increases, you're taking a rancher in the same community as a colonial.
Okay.
The price per square foot of that smaller rancher is going to sell for higher than that, that colonial that's 1,000 square feet higher. As square foot increases, the price per square foot decreases.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like buying in bulk. The more and more and more and more there is, the less and less and less.
Sure, and it's cheaper to build up than it is to build out.
Yep.
And there's another factor why that rancher might show you $350 a square foot, and that same neighborhood, that colonial might only show you $283.
So how does that work when you do appraisals and you do adjustments for square footage? I think a lot of the public would want to know, like, how do you marginalize that? How do you get those numbers and such like that?
On every report, and I've been working all morning on 2 reports. I mean, we take a group of data and get that sales price versus square foot ratio, and it'll draw a nice little graph line up, and take the differences of the price per square foot. Right now, the adjustments for price per square foot, oddly enough, in each price range is about 10% of the actual. You got a $600,000 home.
Okay.
Generally, the differences in that price range are right around $60 a square foot. And I've done this. I mean, it used to be back before COVID. Everything was 30 or 40. Nobody adjusted either way.
Okay.
You get an $800,000 house, you probably have an $80 square foot difference in price range between the 2,500 versus the 3,000 square foot house comparable.
Wow. That makes sense. Okay. So somewhere in that six, and that's the thing. The public says, wait a minute. If my home to rebuild is, if brand new house, $200, $250, $300 a square feet, and then I go to resell it, and the guy next door, I have 500 square feet more, why is my value not $200 a square feet more than his?
Well, there's a lot of factors involved in that. There's finished basements, there's condition, there's quality. I mean, you got existing houses, not side by side. No house is the same anymore.
That's right.
Some people, after that 12 years, stuff starts going bad, and some people let it hang and don't replace it till it dies. And you got the other people that have renovated their whole house in the last, once that 12-year period hits.
Mm-hmm.
So there's big differences between the inside and outside of the houses.
That's what I tell people, because they think it's a cookie cutter. It's a guarantee. This is the numbers. It's 2 + 2 is 4 kind of thing. And the minute we start sharing that it's not 2 + 2 is 4, there's a lot of things you have to really look at and consider. And a lot of times, Kenny, as you know, when we don't feel comfortable with some of the data or something's not making sense, we revert it to you. We're like, hey, we got to get some more help here.
Well, sure. And I field calls. I field calls from agents all the time.
Yep.
All week long. It's not a problem.
All right. How many homes sell in Frederick County each year? Someone asked me that once.
How many homes in Frederick County sell each year? In 2024, we've seen 261 homes a month.
Okay.
So far this year, 2,224 sales, oddly enough. In 23, we saw a total of 3,076 sales over the year of residential properties at 256 per month. So this year's trend and last year's trend are basically right on track of each other.
Wow.
And not only that aspect, but many aspects of the real estate market.
Okay. Because that's the thing. We know volume. I see the Marylanders and we say volume is down. Like the amount of sales that are happening this year versus last year is off a little bit. But
it is off a little bit, but not as much as you think.
It's like a racehorse.
It's just,
and those numbers are new construction included.
Those numbers are everything included in the residential market. Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Now it's way down from back in 2020, 22. And I think we had an inventory 476 a month in that time frame.
Okay.
So it's a big decrease.
So between now and the end of the year, do you see, because interest rates coming down, the election gets finished, and all that crazy stuff is done, and the circus is finished, do you think that it's possible that we could see an uptick, that racehorse is going to come in, and maybe this year may do better than last year with the amount of sales?
Well, the amount of sales, I think, will stay consistent through the end of the year. It's about what we really think about what's the price point going to do. Last year, we leveled off. We stopped going up in August, September, and we just had a nice slow ride through the holidays. This year, I think we might be able to go into pumpkin spice season, and have an increase, probably in October, and then maybe that slower market will come through the holiday season.
Okay. Let's get into values. By the way, phone lines are open. If you have a question for us and Kenny, 301-694-9363, or you can text it in as well. So, all right, here's what everybody wants to know. Values. Where are we year to date versus last year? How much are values up this year?
Well, I just told you before, and I saw the shock on your face. From January till now, we have an average sales price increase of 12.5%, and that's on the modest side of these graphs. And the median is 7.6%.
All right, that's a number I always tell people. The median is like, that feels more realistic, comfortable, but people may want to know what's the difference. Like if we've gained to 7%, which is almost 1% per month increase,
Sure.
which was kind of a trend we were seeing for a long, long time now. And so some would say, well, wait a minute. Values seem to be like plateaued, or is there anywhere where values are down right now in the county, or any price points? Or
I wouldn't say anything's going down. That what the county does, it's segmented. Like we were talking about the condos, they're not going up as fast. At a certain point, let's just say townhouses in Ballinger Creek, a good example.
Okay.
You're getting resale values into the 4s for 20, 30-year-old houses where you could just go hop to a new subdivision for $30,000 or $40,000 more, buy a brand new townhouse in Frederick City.
Okay.
Wow.
So at a certain point, where's it going to stop? You would almost have to think that the resale market for older homes is going to have to stop here, slow down pretty soon, if you could buy new, getting close to the same price.
Is there a difference, Kenny, with the appreciation, whether it's in Frederick City or Frederick County, in the outskirts of the county? Is there a difference?
Sure. There's a big difference in certain markets. Some are going up. I would say the eastern part of the county, the New Market, Mount Airy area, from Spring Ridge over. I mean, it's doing very well. Some areas up in the north part of the county where prices are a little more modest. They're not appreciating like other areas of the county, and that's why this is an average and a median. Not every area is appreciating. But as Frederick County as a whole, you've seen what we got.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If this pace continues, if this continues to December 31st and we don't plateau out anymore or go down in value, where could we possibly wind up?
I'm waiting to see where we're going to wind up. I mean, obviously we have talked about in the past the affordability issue. How much can we afford? I mean, Terry, you're the one that sees people's monies. I mean, how much, where's the affordability going in this area?
Yeah, I think that the affordability is going to go up, and obviously because rates are going to go down. So the more people can afford and what they're used to, so many people will say, well, rates are now, 5.75%, and they were at 7.25%, just last spring or whatever the case may be. So what does that translate into? That's going to translate probably into about an extra $75,000. And what we're taking a look at is, does that translate into a higher sales price, or does it translate in of a house for the buyers? And I think that number is kind of where nobody really knows, but I think it might be somewhere split. Or
would it possibly translate into some more inventory, which would actually slow down the sales prices a little bit in my mind?
Yeah, that's a good point.
There's a lot of options out there because it's a wait and see.
Well, refinances are up 35% since the 1st of August. Okay,
my volume's up as well.
Yeah,
HELOCs.
Yeah,
all day long.
we're doing a lot of HELOCs. People are getting to the point where they need to get the cash out of their house. So at what point are they going to say, hey, you know what, rates are low enough, I'm going to forfeit my 3% interest rate, I'm going to get a bigger house, I'm going to pay off all the credit cards that I've run up? I mean, we're starting to see even more HELOCs. I myself, I'm doing 3 of them this month. So the demand is way up on the HELOCs. But rates, when they come down, I think we're going to see more and more people jumping off the shelf and more supply coming in.
Sounds like it's not going to stop anytime soon.
Does not.
Yeah, there's so many people, a lot of buyers I've been helping is that there's so many coming from out of state and jobs, and it's just unbelievable in that regard. But as far as values, I still am a little bit astounded. If we wind up at double-digit growth in values in the area, it's only because the demand has remained relatively high in retrospect to a very low inventory amount of homes, no doubt about it.
I think another funny thing is the interest rates. When they dropped to that 6.0, 6.1 there, teetered around, everybody's like, the rates are dropping, the rates are dropping.
Mm-hmm.
A year and a half ago when it was at 6.1, 6.0, everybody was,
Mad.
crawling into a cave wondering where they're going to go.
Yeah. Couldn't be happier to have 6%.
6.0 a year and a half ago was a horrible thing. The sky's falling.
Yeah.
It was very hard to sell. It's very hard to
Now
sell.
that we got above
Now
8% for a little while,
it's funny how it all comes back around.
A lot of people ask too, and I've asked sellers this: what number? Because the golden handcuffs at 3.5% interest rates when they got in. At what point do rates have to come down to where now you're like feeling better about selling your home?
I don't think anybody knows that magic number, but I sure think a 5 on there would be really nice.
Yeah,
we were never going to see a 3.1 again.
No, I believe that ship sailed and it's not coming back to port.
That's it.
I think that, the average over the last 50 years, when I tell people this, they kind of think I'm nuts, but the average rate over the last 50 years is 7.6%.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
We got 3 minutes. Here we go. How much are values above 2007 last high, the last massive height? How much are they up? 100%, doubled?
They're up 48% on average and 52 on median. In 2006 was the peak of the market in June.
Okay.
So I ran that this morning. The average sales price was 356 from 2006 2007.
Okay.
Yeah, the median was 319. This year we're at 528 and 485.
Wow. There you go.
So we don't talk about that old peak of the market anymore.
Yeah, that's so long gone, but I always think it's fun to go way back in time and come current and say, where have we really come?
Sure, because COVID pushed us past that.
Yeah, it sure did. The other big thing we're seeing right now, Kenny, also is the percentage of current sellers that have reduced their asking price because they haven't gotten sold. I had seen that in the United States, homes on the market more than 30 days, 39% of sellers have made a price reduction already. What are you seeing and what do you know about that?
That doesn't surprise me. I don't track that stat specifically, but that doesn't surprise me at all. Only because people have high hopes. They're going to try for the highest they can. But at some point, the market's going to tell you where your price should be.
Yeah, and that's why I tell people, sellers more than ever before, that if it's like any market, if you miss that mark by, if you have 6 or 8 showings and you don't have an offer, the chances are you're too high because they're not colluding with each other and conspiracizing against your property to not want to purchase it. And so that's a good normal number, but we are definitely seeing, I've been tracking more and more, making little tiny corrections to say, hey, we just missed it, or we need to get more in line with kind of what's happening here. But at the same time, some would say, well, wait a minute, if the values are still going up, well, at some point it's going to catch itself. Like I'm going to be okay at some given point.
There's a few people that have hung on and just, gotten that contract 6 months later, a year later.
But the chances of that I have found is really much slimmer because the buyers say, hey, it's stigmatized. What's wrong with it? Nobody's buying it and all that good stuff like that. So
I would agree. I would advise people if it has under contract in 3 weeks, drop it to a reasonable price.
There you go. All right. So we talked about inventory, market, all that good stuff. The big thing is this. How much do the elections affect real estate? And what crystal ball do you have? Where do you see 2025 going as we enter into that?
Terry, I'm going to let you handle the election one.
Well, as I've said many times, that the election rates they're going to come down before the election. And that's probably not, it's probably more planned than it is coincidence. And I think that what we're going to take a look at is rates will come down, as I said, through December. We'll probably get into the 6% range on a conventional. So hang tight. If you're looking to refinance, I am telling people not to refinance right now to let's see where the rates play out.
All right, we still got about 2 more minutes. Let's talk 2025. We talked all about values, inventory, and all these things like that. I know no one has a crystal ball, but you've done this so long, so have we. We've been in this decades. what's the best feeling that you can see coming along?
Well, I was a little off. We did this last year. I thought rates were good. I thought prices were going to go up a modest 6% this year. Obviously, I was wrong on that. It's almost doubled that. We are at a carbon copy. We're actually starting over the last 2 years. We're starting to set some trends that we can probably rely on. Inventory's creeping up a little bit. Average sales prices are creeping up a little bit. Barring a disaster, I think that obviously next year we're gonna see appreciation in the market again.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like last year at this time, we were hoping for rates to stop going up.
Mm-hmm.
But if you remember, they went up to 8% last October. So they were on a rise in the fall, which doesn't happen very, very often. I can't remember the last time it happened. And with us going downwards this year, with the momentum down, I think we're going to see much bigger demand than we did. I think this year is going to finish out strong.
Yeah, and that's why appreciation is probably going to creep a little longer than it did last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know I'm never allowed to say about an exact price. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, where would you like to put your place on the market? What price? But I always like to say also, real quick, I say 5%. I think that's where we're going to land next year. That's just my number. Kenny, last thing before you give all your information to anybody that needs to get some information from you to do an appraisal, go ahead and tell us how we can get your information.
6 McClain and Associates at 301-694-5626. You can call anytime. We're there from 8 to 5.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on as always. And guys, we'll see you next week on your Frederick Real Estate Update. Take care. Have a great weekend now. Thanks. All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks for
no problem.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Kenny.
Oh, thanks.
Good job as always.
Goes by fast.
Sure
Now I got to
does.
start working on F-car.
When is that?
October.
Got to get a couple off